All right, welcome to the 2025 Torch Leadership Academy staff training. We're going to have a really good session here. We're going to cover some of familiar territory for some of our recurring staff, but we're going to probably cover some topics that might be new to many of our newer staff and also some changes since last year and as we continue to learn each and every year and make this thing better. So hopefully each and every one of you get something new or different from this. But really, this is only as effective as we all make it. So uh, please just raise your hand. You can use the Zoom function to raise your hand, which should be somewhere in your reactions. I believe. Yeah, no. You can figure that out. You guys have Zoomed enough. And yeah, raise your hand. I'll call on you to when we hit a good stopping point for questions. But I will be checking in often just to make sure everybody understands what we're working through. This is some of our most important topics. I think, if anything, with Torch, um, we're really here to make a beneficial experience for young people. And the only way we can do that is if they're protected and safe, right? So that's kind of the fundamental thing that we want to make sure we uphold here and make sure that we have a safe environment for all of our students and staff, right? So this is also in benefit of yourselves and in benefit of protecting each other, keeping each other safe. So everything that we cover here uh, most likely applies both to our staff as well as to our students. There may be some exceptions or nuances. We can get into those as we hit it, but feel free to stop me at any point to ask a question or put it in the chat. All right. So without further ado, what is Torch? Man, y'all must be wondering, why am I here? What is this organization that I've got myself into? What do we actually stand for? I haven't covered this slide enough, have I? So our mission is to develop and empower leaders through meaningful connections and transformative experiences. And what you'll see on the bottom are our updated values, which align directly to the LeaderV acronym that we teach during Torch. But what you'll see is we continue to elevate that to apply to our program, to our organization, to our staff. So it can kind of mean different things depending on what your role is within the Torch program. So to that point, as an organization, we are learners, right? We're continually improving. We do assessment of everything we do. We take every feedback and apply it, or at least try to evaluate the feedback and see if we can address it. So we are continuously learning as an organization and curious about, what we aren't teaching students, what we aren't covering as a staff. So we empower every single one of these people on the call or listening to the recording to call out if there's something that you think could be changed or be done differently or better or different. Use your voice and make yourself heard. We're empathetic. So we are here to create an inclusive space to make sure everybody's seen, heard, respected, celebrated. When they interact with us, either through emails, phone calls, and then, of course, when they show up on site, we are authentic. We try to be ourselves. We share openly what we do, how we do it, who we are. Hopefully that inspires you and also shares a little bit more about the method behind the madness. We're determined. We are very we're all volunteers here, but we are extremely determined as an organization to deliver the highest quality program possible. And this training is part of that. We are ethical. We do the right thing no matter how challenging it might be, right? No matter what your level is, how long you've been involved in this. If you see somebody doing something that's contrary to what we talk about tonight, I really put it on you individually, unfortunately, to raise that and raise your hand and make sure you do what's right, no matter what it is, who it is. We are responsible. So we try to be consistent. We support each other. We are here for each other, right? So we demonstrate responsibility as well. And lastly, we're visionary, right? We focus on the skills that are necessary for a sustainable future, meaning our program is entirely oriented toward what do students need at this point in the day and age, and also what our staff need to make sure that that program is as effective as possible. So we try to uphold these as an organization, and hopefully, as you get more experience with Torch, you'll find your way to demonstrate these values and apply this in your Torch experience as well as in your personal life as well. So a little bit about, what do we expect from our staff? So as we kind of get into a little bit more of the code of conduct and things like that, I just wanted to call out a few things that are top of mind for us right now. We expect everybody to be respectful and inclusive, right? We teach about inclusive, about identity, about intersectionality, about kind of exploring people's um, some things that are deeply meaningful and deeply personal to people. So we expect our staff to be respectful of everybody's identity and to be using inclusive language and behaviors in how you work with each other and how you work with students. We expect everybody to be professional. When you're talking to a parent or a sponsor or a Stockton staff, we expect you to show up in a good way, right? We want you to make a good impression. We want you to be able to for people to see us on campus and say they know what they're doing, they have their stuff together, and they're easy people to talk to. Um, whenever they do encounter us. So we strive to be professionals in this work. And candidly, this is my work. I do this every single day as training. So we actually do this in our own work as well. So we are professionals in this. Role models. Students look at us no matter how old you are, how young you are. Every student that comes in contact with us does consider you as a role model, whether you accept that or not. So make sure you're setting a good example. So, I mean, that's pretty basic, but like I really do take that to heart. Um, because some of the students are going to be the same age as you, right? So it's hard to step into that status as a role model. But whether you like it or not, you are a role model to them. So if you set a good example, they will take those clues. If you set a bad example, they will also take those clues as well. We do have many, not many, but we have several important rules with our staff. So as we get into it, we take those very seriously and we expect people to uphold those rules as well and hold each other accountable to them. The group me and phone etiquette. I'm just going to call this one real quick. The group me that y'all have access to together, I think it's called Torch 2025 Full Staff. That is the method of communication we will be using during our program to for the most important things you need to know. So if that group me blows up, it should be because something drastic has happened. Like there is rain, like, oh, we had need to change location, we lost a leader. Like those are the types of things that we would use the group me for. Not necessarily for socializing necessarily. Look, we love each other, like we want to celebrate each other and whatnot. But I would encourage you as we step into the next several months, you guys have each other's number, you have each other's individual group me, make your own sub chats, whatever you want. But the group me that's formally set up, that's really for things that we need to be communicating to each other or raising up or making people aware of. So we will use it for that purpose going forward. And then phone etiquette in general goes with the role model, but you should not be using your phone a lot during Torch. Obviously, as I just mentioned, we need it for communication. But again, students will do what you do. Um, So if you're using your phone, they will use their phone and disengage. Okay. And then also, even the existence of the phone out distracts you, even if it's unconscious. You can easily get distracted by phones. So we want to make sure everybody gets the most out of this. So demonstrate good behaviors of putting your phone away and staying off the socials as much as possible while you can with us. And then lastly, all hands on deck. So we expect everybody, no matter how senior or how junior you are in this program, to do anything that is asked of you. Um, in a good way. Like, I mean, in the, hey, we need a water jug moved, or hey, we need to tape these things on the wall for WEG, or hey, we really need to run across campus to go pick up something for somebody, right? There's going to be moments where I don't have the time necessarily, or it's too urgent to explain the context, and maybe I might come off, or any of us might come off as rude, maybe if you know, you say something very directly and very urgently. So I just like let that roll off your back. We try to do our best to be nice to each other and respectful, but just know that sometimes it does become high stress, and we need help. We need somebody, hey, go lift this adventure course thing, and we need to fix it. Just be willing to lean in and put your to help everybody out and support your fellow staff members. So those are some of the ground rules, some of my expectations for y'all. Does anybody want to come up mute and add their own? Is there anything anybody wants to set as a ground rule or an expectation for each other? Like water off a duck's back. Yes, Anna Kuzmic told me that and it stuck.
I was gonna say that water off a duck's back always is the one I like to add. And if you've never heard that before, it's like it sounds, letting things slide and knowing that everybody is under pressure and might treat you not in the way that they typically would if they weren't so tired or stressed, and kind of just letting things roll off when possible.
Yeah. In corporate world, we call that assuming positive intent. So assume that they had positive intent with what they asked you to do and just kind of roll with it. All right. Well, if you think of any any expectations or rules to set with each other, um, I was going to say put it in the group me, but don't put it in the group me. Just reach out, and if you have any questions or you have anything to add on that. Okay. Big change for 2025. So just want to address this up front because it's important with the context of the things we'll talk next. Since we've been on Stockton's campus, we've been on the other side of campus with some of the housing that we've been in near Lakeside Lodge. This year we are coming to, Chris, help me with the language here, like the main side of campus.
So we're going to be staying on the academic side of campus that also houses the traditional first year rooms, hence why it looks a bit different.
Thank you, thank you. So it's called Housing 2. So we will there's a little bit of maybe we'll use Lakeside Lodge for maybe something, but for the most part, we will not be using Lakeside Lodge or those apartment style housing circumstances this year. We just based on assessment information and kind of like our general point of view on this, we think it'll be most beneficial if we are on that side, on the academic side of campus, because we wasted so much time traveling back and forth to the other side of campus with our program in the past. Also, it made it really difficult for students to go back to their dorms when they needed help. So this is really to like take care of people's basic human needs of like making sure they have dry clothes, making sure if they need to, I don't know, take a quick shower or something, if they need to go lay down. I don't know. For whatever reason, somebody needs to go back to their medicine, whatever it might be, they need to go back to their dorm. This really allows for that. So it's a big change for this year that we are, I'll say, piloting, and then we'll see how it goes. And we think it'll be beneficial, but it's comes with a couple of updates. So buildings A, B, C, and D are the ones we'll be in. I'll show you second a quick campus map to orient ourselves. Each of them will have 3 floors. The first floor, generally, we plan to put staff in production offices and storage and things like that that we easily can need to get in and out. The same gender will be on each floor for the students, and for staff we may that are 18 plus. We may kind of mix up gender on a floor, but for the most part, we will be trying to um, keep the same gender on floors. And I think we need to think about a little bit of how we put staff, or if we put staff on student floors, or if we feel comfortable being able to control the ins and outs of the building from staff on the bottom floor. So we'll share an update on that soon. Key cards are going to be needed for access to each floor and each room. And you'll see there's a lounge at the end of each hall on each level. Those lounges will most likely be used for like on the first floor, there'll be like a staff lounge. One of them will likely be like an office. One of them will be a storage. So we just ask you for those common spaces, be respectful of each other's, belongings and of the torch inventory as well. Um, yeah, I think it would be pretty cool. And also the cool thing is we'll be like near the campus center. So if we need to like do some stuff in campus center, like late night, it won't be hard to get there. So I think there's a lot of cool benefits with being on the side of campus. And like I said, it's a little bit of an experiment. We think it's better, um, but we need to test it out. There are some singles and some doubles on each floor. Oh, and the shared bathrooms. So there are shared bathrooms on each floor now. They have private shower stalls and, you know, bathroom stalls as well. We are thinking about maybe making like a staff, if there are staff on the same floor as students, trying to make like a staff shower time in the morning versus like a student shower time in the morning, just to kind of like, I don't know, not make it awkward for y'all, because we'll get into a little bit more about it. But for the most part, we think that we'll be able to make this work within our context. So keep that in mind as you go. You may have questions, but I want to hit some of the other stuff, and then we might loop back to that. And this is just a reminder for where we'll be on campus. So housing two is right here, and this is A, B, C, and D. This is the campus center where we spend most of our time, where the campus, the theater is in here, the event room's in there. The coffee house, where you might have noticed Duncan last year, is a space that we'll be using much more this year because it will allow us to do some of our programming there. We will be sharing some of the space, like there will be not sharing, there will be other groups on this side of campus that we in the past just had not encountered in there, including this TRLC room that they use quite a bit. But we may be doing a little bit of programming there. And then there's N wing, which is where the meals are, and then C wing is where our classrooms are. So as you can see, it's very tight, very contained within this center campus area, which we are really excited about. And then last thing on housing and residential stuff, there is a guide that I will try to send you the link to. That is available on Stockton's website. That is really helpful. So if you want to check that out, it's some good information about the property itself, and if you need help and assistance there. All right. Now, this is the segment of this training where we're going to get a little bit more into our youth protection protocol and information. So I'm going to start this off, but then we're going to start doing popcorn style. So I am going to ask you to use the raise hands function, which I couldn't find, to get in line for the popcorn section of this program. So I'm going to start and say Torch strives to create and maintain a safe environment for all youth who participate in our activities. To the best of their ability, staff spouses and partners, and other volunteers must safeguard the children and young people they come in contact with and protect them from physical, sexual, and emotional abuse. So, trigger warning, this is what the context of what we're talking about. We are talking about how do we protect students from physical, sexual, and emotional abuse. That's ultimately what the context of our youth protection protocol is about and our statement of conduct for how we work with youth. Everything kind of anchors to this statement to make sure that we are upholding these values as well. Okay. And all of us who will attend Torch 2025 in person have or will sign the Code of Staff Conduct before Torch on when we move in on July 18th, that Friday. Okay. So now's the part where you get off me. Is there a raise hand function or did I miss it? Boom. Oh, Dana, thank you.
I got it under control.
All right,
There
you're
is
a
a
role
raise hand
model.
function.
You want to take the rest of this slide?
For sure. So, terms and expectations of staff leadership. The staff leadership commitment is in effect from your selection date and remains in effect for the remainder of your time served as a staff member during any event at which you are a participant.
Thank you for that. And the thing we missed before that is just you are accepting this in your role as a staff member at Torch, and you're agreeing to all of these measures as well. All right, who wants to take this first bullet? Go ahead, Sarah.
As a Torch staff member, I understand that my first priority is to maintain and support the physical, emotional, and psychological well-being of the student leaders and my fellow staff members. I promise that my behavior and actions will support the success of Torch and the welfare of all involved, and that if I observe behavior that could be deemed threatening in any way, I will report it to a member of the coordination and/or committee team. Board member.
Gosh, we say this every year, but I got to update these slides. Board. Thought I got this.
I didn't say that to call you out. I just think it's more
No, I think
like I think people say board now, so that's what we mean by that.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Caroline.
Sorry, I just needed to unmute myself. I will maintain a high level of
We
professionalism,
missed the one before that. Sorry.
so I will seek.
Yeah.
I will seek to make all student leaders and staff feel welcome and accepted. I am aware of the diverse backgrounds of our students and staff, and my language and actions will be inclusive of race, ethnicity, sex and gender, sexual orientation, religion, ability, socioeconomic status, and any other identities. I will remember that I am a role model for students and staff members and that they may be influenced by what I say and do. I will report any problems, concerns, or potential problems to a member of the board as soon as possible.
Thank you. Bella, I missed you. You're up.
That's okay. I will maintain a high level of professionalism as a staff member at Torch. I will use my cell phone away from student leaders when possible. Additionally, I will not discuss inappropriate topics, use inappropriate words, or make advances towards any student leaders. I will dress appropriately and represent Torch to the best of my ability.
Thank you very much. GI.
I understand that we are a team and will need to work together to make Torch a success. If I see something that needs to be done or am asked by a supervising staff member to complete a task outside of my job description, I will do it. I will do my best to keep my areas neat and clean. And when leaving an area, I will not leave trash behind.
Thank you very much. Who's up? Sydney.
I take full responsibility for the keys and other materials issued to me by Stockton University and Torch. If I lose my key, I understand that I will have to pay a fee per key.
Thank you. Ben Jones, you want to take those last three there?
Sure. I shall adhere to and uphold all responsibilities as outlined above, and understand that failure to do so may result in disciplinary action from the Code of Conduct Board and/or termination from the position. Should I be found in violation of the standards above, the Torch Committee members reserve the right to take disciplinary action, including immediate removal from Stockton University and the Torch organization. All staff have the ability to report concerns or actions that do not align with the Code of Conduct to info@torchleadershipacademy.org. The Code of Conduct Board consists of board members and will assess incidents as they are submitted.
All right. Austin, you want to take the top of this in the first bullet?
Yeah, that sounds good. As a Torch staff member, you serve as a role model and representative of the organization. As such, you are expected to abide by the following: not consume intoxicants, alcohol, and cannabis. While present at Torch conferences, trainings, and
My internet is being a little bit glitchy, but thank you very much. Tyler, you want to go?
Not promote off-campus activities where intoxicants are being consumed with student leaders.
Danny, next.
Not consume intoxicants with, be in the presence of, or provide intoxicants to student participants.
Jaden.
Not have alcohol, cannabis, or illegal drugs in my possession during my time on campus, including but not limited to on my person, in my room, or in my vehicle.
Thank you. Cheryl.
At no time host an unapproved visitor on campus during time of program. Will not leave campus unless otherwise permitted by a leadership committee member.
Thank you. Alexis.
Which one are we on?
Not possess.
Okay. Not possess or be involved with providing a false ID to myself or any person.
Hit the next one, Alexis. You did so great.
Okay. Not smoke cigarettes. Extends to any legal tobacco, including e-cigarettes, vapes, and hookahs, in the presence of student participants.
Thank you. Finn. Take the last two.
To always have at least one fellow staff member with me when in the presence of a student participant, and adhere to all Stockton University, local, state, and federal laws and policies.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I think that this is the part where we all say this out loud, but on mute to ourselves. I will say it out loud as we go, but don't repeat my name. Fill your name in the blank, just like we do on the third night on campus. So, statement of agreement. I, Brian O'Donnell, in my role as a staff member of Torch Leadership Academy Incorporated, accept and am willing to fulfill this position to the best of my ability. I understand and agree to abide by all expectations set forth during training and throughout the year and answer directly to Torch Leadership Academy. My personal conduct will at all times conform to the law as well as organization and Stockton University policies. My personal behavior and choices will reflect consciousness of my role as a positive role model. I further agree and accept that I will be terminated from my position or face disciplinary action should I fail to abide by the above-mentioned conditions or specific expectations received in staff training. Yay! It's not as much of a sizzle as there is when you know, get inducted into the Torch leadership of ethical leaders, but it's very important nonetheless. And like I mentioned before, like no dumb questions. If legitimately something on those last few slides did not make sense to you, now is the time to clarify and get some responses from very experienced people. And of course, you're always at any point, I'm accessible. You could find me. Actually, the next slide has my number on it. If you want to ask me privately, more than welcome to. There have been some nuances to this, which I will get to on the next, in one of the next slides. So in upholding the youth protection policy, these are your, holy crap, my office just turns off at a certain time, the lights. So I swear the landlord in this place is just horrible. So these are numbers that you should have saved. So I do encourage you right now to save these as context in your phone. Torch board members who should be accessible on site 24 hours. I am the primary person that fits that criteria. Sarah Stefanelli, Joe Seals, and Chris Fitzgerald is the Torch Wellbeing Advisor. She will be on site and on call as needed. She does not stay over, so that's just the one thing on that front. If there are emergencies, we will call different numbers than these. But if it's something that we believe that we should be able to resolve as an organization, you can reach these people at any point during the day with myself, Sarah, Joe, at any point, at any time on campus. And also outside of campus, right? There are some things that happen outside of the confines of Torch that we probably should know. So if you feel like that something meets that criteria, reach out to us. Oh, the other thing I was going to say, I'm really excited. I got a new certification. I'm first aid certified now. So like I'm so ready to handle scrapes and cuts and EpiPens and things like that. So, holler at me if you need some. I'm sure there's others on staff as well that are even more qualified in this space, but for Pride, I got my first aid certification, so I'm ready to go. Okay. Key definitions of our youth protection protocol. These are things that are just important as we get into other things. An authorized adult is anybody, no matter if they're paid or unpaid. Well, we don't really pay anyone, so anyone who is within our organization. So Sarah Stefanelli handles like managing the roster of everybody that we would consider an authorized adult for Torch Leadership Academy. We have a list of people who get a badge, and the only way you get a badge is if you complete this training, complete your forms, and you're invited to be on campus and provided that badge, right? So that's who we would, and ultimately you're at least 18 years of age or older. That is who would be an authorized adult within the confines of Torch Leadership Academy. And on that note, wear your badge. I should put that on the other one. That's something that signifies who you are, who you represent, whether it be to Stockton or to other organizations that are going to be on campus, to students, whatever it might be, you really should be wearing your badge at any point on campus. A minor is, in this context, anyone under the age of 18, which includes some staff members as well as some of the students that are in our care as well. One-on-one contact is any interaction between an adult and a minor without at least one other authorized adult, parent, or legal guardian available. So like an example of that could be somebody's being checked into their dorm, you're helping them, bring their luggage up, and it's you, the student, and their parent, right? You should not be like walking into that student's room without another person. So that's an adult. So that's kind of just, and that's for your protection, right? That is also for your protection as well as the students. This is to make sure that there are ultimately more than one person that can be witness to something that could happen, right? So that's ultimately what this comes down to. It's a risk mitigation and something we want to make sure we uphold. Okay, so here are some of the key protocols. One-to-one, right? We just mentioned it. This is one of our key concepts with our youth protection protocol is there's no private one-to-one staff and student situations. That's just kind of what it is. There are some gray areas, which we'll get into some scenarios, and I want to get your feedback of what you would do. But that is the rule as it lies. Whenever there's an issue, an incident, crisis, urgent thing that you feel like needs to be addressed based on whatever risk it might be causing to a student, you need to escalate that immediately, right? So share it with your counselor, share it with an advisor, share it with a board member, and just know that you don't need to go up that chain. You can go directly to me. You can go to any board member. You could go to any advisor. You don't have to go to the counselor first. It's just saying like you can escalate it through that chain, and they'll be able to, evaluate the situation, maybe get more information, and maybe help you handle the situation. And we want you to have that support system in place, but don't feel like, oh, I'm gonna like make Ben Jones mad because I went over his head and went to Caroline. Like that's, it's totally cool. Background checks must be completed before Torch. We take that very seriously. It's very important, and ultimately something that's required to be a staff member. We do have sometimes authorized observers for our program, and those are people that might be sponsors. They might be people that we're trying to work with or partner with in the future that we're trying to build partnerships with. So, and sometimes we may invite certain people on campus, but not everybody can just show up and be present at a torch program, right? Like Sue's mom just can't show up and like observe adventure course, right? So you have to be invited in order to be like in the room for a program. Otherwise, that's unauthorized, and we should be raising that and telling someone that somebody else is there and getting them off our location. But the campus is public, so it is public property on Stockton University. A lot of the areas that are not reserved, right? So think about the campus center or some of the areas around the classrooms and around the walkways and things like that. People may be around that are just there. So just consider that as well. We have had some people that like follow us to the dining room or dining hall to get a free meal, right? So that can happen. So just be aware of it. But otherwise, they're free to do what they will at most things, but we don't want them to be causing a risk or make us feel uncomfortable or unsafe as an organization. No driving of minors. There have been some exceptions to this rule when it's approved by a parent in a certain circumstance. Like I can think of like maybe it's a younger sibling or something like that. But by and large, we do not drive minors, and that usually is an important rule for like getting around campus, right? So you should not be driving somebody in your car on campus to the other side of campus, or let's go to 7-Eleven. Like, no. Like we're staying on campus, no driving minors to or from unless you have approval on that. Stockton emergency response. So this is the number for the emergency response at Stockton, 609-652-4390. For the people watching this recording, you'll have to recite that by memory. Just kidding. But that is actually quicker than 911 for emergencies on Stockton's campus. So it's important that if you do have an emergency, you prioritize calling the Stockton emergency response, because they will be able to locate you and get to you much faster than other emergency services. And then lastly, our code of conduct, our youth protection protocol, is in alignment with the Stockton protection of minors, but they do have their own policies for what they expect groups like ours to be putting in place for the organization for the summer conferences that they hold on campus. So just something to be aware of. Okay, now this is the interactive part as well. So I want you to just go off mute. What would you do during a bathroom break? If somebody asked to use the bathroom during lunch, how would you handle that on your team? A student. Tyler.
This might be a wrong answer, but I would probably ask if there was another student to accompany them to the bathroom, and then also make sure that they'd accompany them on the way back, or just use the bathroom at the same time.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Any other thoughts?
I mean, they don't have to leave the building for lunch. So that's one where I would just let them go as long as we're not leaving in 60 seconds.
Yep. Key point, Jamie Palmer. Yes. Depends if we're about to leave. We don't want to leave them behind. But in the lunch area in the dining hall, we're all around there. So, and the bathroom's right around the corner. So go. Just go. Don't need to ask us. Who wants to take the next one? If you're in a team meeting or a guild meeting and somebody needs to use the bathroom, what do you do?
Just let them go.
You couldn't help yourself there, could you?
I couldn't.
Yeah. But yes, that is the right answer. For the most part, we're gonna have advisors in the hallway. Like there's usually someone around on campus that students will not be unsupervised or, at risk or unsafe. So if somebody needs to use the restroom, let them go. Especially if you're in a team meeting, you're kind of you're not moving, you're immobile, like you're going to be there. Make sure you account for them that they come back from it before you move on. But by and large, you can just let them go to the restroom. Bathroom breaks become a little bit like tricky. That's why we focus on this as well.
Well, and
How
usually
about
too, just checking and making sure that there is somebody in the hallway. I'm typically sitting out there in the hallway, and there's usually some other advisors with me, but just keeping in mind to make sure there's at least somebody just to account for them that they didn't walk out of the building.
Yeah. I think the key point on this is that we don't want you to have to like leave your team and walk to the bathroom with a student, right? It's just not necessary. But it can be the extreme of like a one-on-one youth protection protocol. Like you don't want to like leave them alone. So we just want to address that. And then I'll just hit the last two. Like if it's during a program, yeah, go to the bathroom. If it's like if we're outside though, and then it's like inside, you may want to send a couple people to like just supervise or try to send them in like a pack. It just depends on where the program is located. And same thing like if we're in transit, just depends if we're where we're headed and how far we are from where we're going, right? If we're headed to the classroom and we're passing the bathroom, the closest one to the classroom, sure, go to the restroom. Make sure you meet us in the room. What if a student needs to go to a dorm? I'd love for a lead counselor to answer this. What if one of your student leaders asks to go to their dorm? Go ahead, Sid.
I would probably ask if there's another staff member available to go with us to the dorm since you're not supposed to be one-on-one with a student.
Yep. I would agree with you. And I would also probably just ask them politely or maybe to the side, like, how can we help you? Like, is there something that you need? We don't try to encourage students to go back to their dorm. Like, I've seen in the past, like some students just like want to like just kind of leave, right? And that becomes a really tricky situation. Or they want to just like lay in bed for hours, and it becomes very tricky of like how do we handle those types of situations. If there are those more medical related types of things or like an accommodation that we need to make for a student to address like some emotional, neurological, or physical need, that's something you should raise and escalate to board member Chris, to just make sure we handle that situation a little bit more delicately and make sure that we're in contact potentially with their parents if they need additional support. But for the most part, Sydney, yes, if they need to go back to their dorm, send two people with it. Ideally, it's an advisor. It's two advisors that would be sent or a board member to accommodate that dorm trip. A lot of times this happens if somebody needs medicine or needs deodorant or something that they need, like a new shirt or something. From their dorm. So we want to make sure that they're comfortable and we will accommodate that. But it can depend on the context. What if there is a medical emergency and they need to be taken in a car? What do you do? How about an advisor for this one? I can ask. I can call on people. Nat, what would you do?
If it's oh no, hold on, wait, okay, sorry. Medical emergency.
escalate it at least to Chris and the board so they're informed of what's happening. And if necessary, grab a second advisor if we need to get somewhere, i.e., maybe it's a bee sting and they have an EpiPen, but it's in their dorm. Maybe they have medication they need to take at a certain time that's there. If it's something that's going to require outside intervention and actual like EMS, Stockton security. Yeah.
Yeah. No, good. I agree. I guess anything, and then similar for accommodations, right? If somebody, I don't know, has a broken leg or something, we need to like escort them around on campus. Um, Again, the one-on-one protocol applies to that, but we may make an accommodation for that student to drive them to where they need to go, so they don't have to use their, you know, their foot or whatever. Anything else on this? Any questions or anything that this sparked as you listen to some of the scenarios and gray areas there?
Do
Or
we have
advice,
any, oh,
Gina?
I was gonna say, do we have any accommodations in place? Like say if somebody like, I don't know, like they use like a walker or anything like that, do we have that already established or is that like case by case?
It is case by case. Sarah is currently evaluating the medical forms that get provided from students, and we do ask them if they do have accommodations that need to be accounted for. And quite honestly, it is by case basis of what resources we have to accommodate a student and support their needs. But yes, we have made accommodations in the past, and we will continue to. But there are some situations where we're not equipped to handle, every accommodation. So
Also, to put people's minds at ease, I'm helping Sarah with medical forms. We haven't had a request for that type of accommodation. So if it comes our way, we'll obviously chat with Sarah and the rest of the board, but we haven't had any accommodations lately. When it comes to medical emergencies, because Sarah and I have that information, if someone has to be, God forbid, hospitalized or transported somewhere, please make sure one of us are also made aware so we can make sure that that info is passed along to medical officials.
yeah, great points. And thank you, Chris, for contributing all of your know-how. All right. Now this is the lovely time where I pass it to my friend Chris Fitzgerald.
Thank you. Okay, so good evening, everybody. I don't know if I missed introductions because I was on the Google Meet with the 6 other cool people. So I'm Chris. I'm doing this part of the presentation. I just want to highlight what Brian said about like trigger warning, right? And so for those of you that were in my training in March when we talked a lot about empathy, it's like these aren't the easy conversations, but they're the necessary conversations. And so we're talking about this just to make sure that you guys have the knowledge, especially for some of you that are first year counselors. It's a good information base to have, but also remember, like, you're never going to be by yourself, right? You have advisors, you have board members around. So a lot of this stuff, retain it, but know that you'll always have us to lean on if you have any questions. So I am going to pose to you, what do you think of when you hear the word crisis? And I don't understand the hand raising part, so I'm just going to ask you to unmute and just shout out ideas. So what do you think when you hear the word crisis? No wrong answers. Come on.
Emergency.
Emergency.
A bad injury.
Mm-hmm.
Urgent.
Urgent. Okay. Anybody else?
Unexpected.
Unexpected. Yeah.
Anything out of normal.
Mm-hmm.
Scary.
Scary. Yeah. Sometimes for you and the person that it's happening to. Okay. Great. These are all great answers. Crisis is a very broad term that can encompass everything that you guys just said. I'm sure those of you that decided not to shout out, something probably came to your mind, and it probably also fits within what crisis means. Brian, next slide. So we're going to break down, I'm going to get into like specific definitions in a couple slides, but just going over what your role is in a crisis. It's to understand our reporting obligations and system, which I will also break down. Support a safe and comfortable environment for staff and participants. Stay calm. This is in bold for a reason. Again, will you have to deal with this? No, maybe not. But it's just in case. Sometimes these situations come up. And I know a lot of times when we talk about so many things, it could feel like it could happen at any moment. The probability is still low, but we just want you to be aware. So staying calm. If information is disclosed to you that is concerning, you contact a board member or you contact me as quickly as possible, so we can manage the situation. This is not a counseling situation, right? Like, you guys are all rock stars. That's why you're here. You have grown and developed so many skills throughout the program, throughout trainings. I'm sure you all could do a really great job. However, your role is risk assessment, right? Like, none of you guys have liability insurance. So just work on staying calm, leave the risk part to me or to one of the board members. And again, never one-on-one with a student. Sometimes this can be a little tricky if like somebody starts to have like an anxiety attack or a panic attack. And if you need to pull them off to the side, as long as you're still in eye shot of other people, you're okay. And just as a reminder, I don't try to, but I am the exception to this rule because I do have my own liability insurance as a therapist, that I can be one-on-one with a student. Like I said, I try not to if I don't need to, but if it's in a situation where somebody needs like to calm down and, you know, if there's too many people around, I am the exception to this, but I try not to be. Right. Okay, so responding to a psychological crisis. If you believe someone is in imminent threat to themselves or others, which means hurting themselves, hurting somebody else, if somebody else could possibly be trying to hurt them, act, acknowledge, care, tell. Don't minimize the situation, listen to them. If someone is suicidal, they will rarely lie about that. So keep your composure and just listen to them, hear them out. They are telling you for a reason because they feel comfortable with you. So just kind of nod and use those empathy skills that you guys have been doing a great job building. Stay with them and call me, except your best bet to get me is the group me. And so this goes back to before, like trying not to crowd the group me. You have my number just in case. I hope you guys all save that. However, my best bet is the message. You talk to me, you say, Chris, you tell me where you are and what team you're with, and I will be there. I probably won't even respond. I'll just start heading that way. So that's your best bet, is tag me or even just write my name in the group me and I will come running. If someone is not in immediate danger, talk to a youth protection team member, me first, as soon as possible to discuss the situation. You are allowed to drop whatever you're doing for this. And the other thing that I like to say about this too is, like, even if you're not sure if a situation is concerning, if it requires my attention, ask me anyway. I'm all around and floating. I'm not assigned to a team for this reason. So I'm available at any moment for anybody who needs me. And then if something were to happen, if I'm already working with somebody and I see I'm needed, I will then contact somebody else, board members, to assist with whatever other situation if two are going on at the same time.
One thing I just want to add to what Chris just covered is you don't need to tell anybody besides who needs to know, right? Like, so said differently, if you become aware of something that's happening, like a crisis like this, you should be keeping that confidential, meaning who needs to know it will learn it, right? Chris will be informed, the board member will be informed, but that doesn't mean everybody on your team needs to know what happened, right? That doesn't mean that your best friend even needs to know what happened, or your lead counselor necessarily, right? Mm-hmm. So we do want to make sure we protect like the confidentiality of situations that may or may not happen. and you may get disclosed something that meets this criteria. But someone like Chris may be the only person that ever needs to know that information, and most likely nobody else on your team should know that information. So I just wanted to add that as well.
Yes. And not actually on another slide, that piece is in there. I keep saying I'm going to reorganize these slides. Maybe I will do that for this time. For next time. Go ahead. Okay. So duty to report child abuse and neglect. For those of you guys who remember my bio, I used to work for DIFUS, which changed into the Division of Child Protection and Permanency. So this is the formal information. It's a lot of jargon. I will sum it up for you at the end. But all suspected instances of abuse or neglect of a minor, including the maintenance of child pornography, must be reported under the Protection of Minors policy, these procedures, and state law. Anyone who suspects that a minor has been subject to abuse or neglect must immediately notify the Stockton University Police Department at 609-652-4390. Again, please, everybody, make sure you have this number down. Younger counselors, you probably won't have to make this decision of I have to call this number. An advisor or a board member will probably be with you, but you still want to have this number. New Jersey law requires all persons who have reasonable cause to believe that a minor has been subject to abuse or neglect to report it to the New Jersey Division of Child Protection and Permanency, formerly the Division of Youth and Family Services, at 1-877-NJ-ABUSE. And the university will not retaliate against any individuals who report a reasonable belief that a minor has been subject to abuse or neglect. So I don't know about you guys, how many of you know what constitutes a specific call to Child Protective Services or not. I do. I work there. I have trained for there. So I will be the one probably who would make this call, I would assume, with Brian. But if there's anything that sounds off to you, anything that sounds concerning about even family dynamics that are happening at home, like it doesn't have to be something that's happening here, please come find me. Like, find me, call me, message me, smoke signal me, wave to me. I will come over and you give me the information, and then I will do what's necessary. But definitely make sure you have that Stockton number down, because that's the number we're to call before 911. Okay, what to report. So this breaks down all of the categories. And again, this is just general information. You don't have to know exactly what fits into all of these things. That's why we're here to help support you and talk about it. The first category is emotional or verbal abuse, using fear, humiliation, or verbal assaults to control the behavior of a young person. Physical abuse, use of physical contact intended to cause pain, injury, or other physical suffering or harm. Neglect, which is failure to provide adequate food, clothing, shelter, and medical care necessary for youth's well-being. Sexual abuse, implicit or explicit sexual acts with a young person, or forcing or encouraging a young person to engage in implicit or explicit sexual acts alone or with another person. And then sexual harassment, which is sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature, includes sexual jokes, references to sexual conduct, gossip, comments about an individual's sexual activity, display of sexually suggestive objects, pictures or drawings, sexual leering, inappropriate physical contact, obscene languages or gestures, and suggestive or insulting comments. Other threats to a student's well-being, such as suicidal ideation as well. So any thoughts, any concerning comments or thoughts that somebody might have about their worth, anything like that, all things to flag and talk to me about. Okay, so keep in mind, young people often fail to report sexual abuse because they fear that disclosure will bring consequences even worse than being victimized again. Child abuse is generally underreported because offenders are able to convince their victims that it is their own fault. Also, I've seen a lot of times kids sometimes don't know when they don't see other families acting differently. So that also contributes to underreporting. In many cases, victims of child sexual abuse do not report the abuse until they are adults. And only about 1 to 4% of sexual abuse allegations prove to be false. Children tend to minimize and deny abuse, not exaggerate or overreport such incidents. So again, is this something that's definitely you're going to have to look out for and hear maybe not, but it's good to have this information just in case, again, anything sounds concerning. Please come find me, message me. I will be there. Okay. And then responding to any abuse allegations or any concerning disclosures that somebody might say to you, stay calm. Again, don't cut them off. At a natural break, commend them for their bravery. Let them know that you appreciate that they felt safe around you. Let them know that, you have to call me because you got to make sure that they're safe. So when you have that moment, you let them know that you're going to message me and that I'm going to come over. Reassure them that they're doing the right thing. Stay neutral but supportive, right? Like you don't have to be like, yeah, that sucks, or like that's awful. You just be there for them. Don't try to solve the issue, just listen and gather the information, like retain. Like you don't have to ask them more questions, just focus on what you had heard. And then this is what Brian was talking about earlier, is like you can't promise confidentiality. You can offer them privacy. And so the difference of that is that if they tell you something concerning, you have to come tell me. Brian also has to be aware we have to make appropriate phone calls. But privacy is, if you're a support and somebody said something to you, you aren't going to necessarily tell the lead or the advisors on the team. Like they won't know, like the other kids on the team won't know. That's the privacy part. But if it's concerning, you have to make sure that they're safe and you're doing this for them. So any questions about anything that I just said? I think this is my last slide.
Yeah, I think it is. But yeah, I'm just going to take just call it a pause. Call it the flight pause, digest this information, and really, like, there are no bad questions. If you're thinking it right now, somebody else is as well. So please, please ask the question.
Chris.
Yes.
What you said about how you don't promise confidentiality, but you can offer privacy. If I'm in a situation where a leader tells me something and my response is, thank you for telling me this, but I have to tell Chris, what happens if they start very negatively responding to that?
That's one of those things where it really depends on the situation. And so then you have to explain why. And so hopefully everybody at that point should know I get introduced now during like the opening welcome after icebreakers. So hopefully they will understand who I am and why. And you just say like, this is above me, right? Like I'm so thankful that you shared this with me, but like Chris is the one that can like help and make sure that everything is okay. And so she really does need to know, but I promise you, like, she is trained for stuff like this, like, because that's something you can promise, like, I'm trained for this, like, I'm a therapist. I've worked with kids for, gosh, I don't even know, since some of you were born, that kind of thing, and just remind them of who I am and what my role is, and that you will be there with me. Like, if they feel comfortable, that's a lot of times what happens is they feel comfortable with you continuing to sit there with me. And then also too, like every team has the mental health first aid kits. A lot of times that can just help calm too in the moment, because sometimes it's just like I just spewed out a lot of information and I'm worked up, but using the mental health first aid and then saying like I will continue to sit with you, and when she comes over, that kind of thing can really help. Yes, that exactly what Dana just said. Any other questions? And again, like Brian said, like there's a lot. I just spewed out a whole lot of information.
And one thing I want to just raise while people are thinking is that if you have like a second guess about this, let's say you don't address it in the moment and you like kind of let it simmer a little bit, like maybe somebody says something to you in passing or something, and then you don't like report it immediately. There's never a bad time to talk to Chris about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't feel guilty that you didn't raise it quick enough. Like, any information is good information to share with Chris on these types of incidents, because we ultimately want to make sure the student gets the right support that they need. So if it's delayed, so be it, right? Like it's a lesson learned, but it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Either.
And I've had people come up to me before, like they weren't sure and they see me in the dining hall or they see me walking. So they come up and talk to me about it. And there's been some times where I was like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to follow up on that. And there's other times where I'm like, no, you were right. Like it was okay. But again, that's why I'm not connected to a team, because I am floating. I'm available. I'm usually in the hallway when you guys are in the classrooms. I'm, bopping around for whoever needs whatever.
And I will also say that obviously we want you to mention something to us sooner rather than later. And even if it is after Torch has ended, if there is something that you are thinking about and it's not sitting well with you, if there is something that you hear, some of your fellow counselors and you're like, "Oh, I didn't know that happened. Like that's not okay." We also welcome you to reach out at that point. You have our numbers, and you will get a roster of all of the fellow counselor and advisor phone numbers and emails. Please reach out and don't feel like, oh, Torch is over, we'll just leave it, because we want to know these things, especially if it involves a student's well-being. And many of you, as you know, you come back the next year, right? And so if there are any behavioral issues or things like that, we really want to know sooner rather than later.
And I said I'll pause, but I'm gonna add one more thing is that some of these things don't happen like IRL. Like, some of them happen like on Snapchat or like Insta or like, so just also be cognizant of that. Like, we want to be aware of those things. Like, let's say somebody's like harassing somebody or saying something really negative or made a really crude joke or something like that. We won't tolerate that stuff. Like that, I have a very low tolerance for inappropriate behavior that like could be negatively affecting somebody else's experience on campus. That's not what Torch is about, and we don't want anybody to have to tolerate, like, to experience that and to kind of continue experiencing that throughout Torch. So those are the types of things I really want to know. And whether it happens through text or Snap or whatever, like it doesn't matter. Like let us know, because that also is against the student code of conduct as well, right? So those are the things that we just need to be aware of. And then like random things like, oh, these kids said that they were going to meet up late at night. Like we want to know that as well. Like those things have been discussed before, and we try to squash them as we hear it as well.
So if anybody else has any other questions, again, no question is too small. And if you don't feel comfortable asking a question right now, or even if a question comes up after this, feel free to reach out to me. I'm available. If I'm in a session, I won't respond to you, but I will respond when I can. And if you have any questions after this, I am available. Brian's available, the board, anybody. And just to piggyback over what Brian said earlier about, I do not stay on campus. I don't know how many of you realize, but I do stay until whenever the staff meeting is over, whether it's midnight, 1 a.m., and then I'm back at usually 8:30 in the morning. So I don't stay on campus. It's mostly because I won't sleep, and I have kids that I sometimes have to take care of before I come in, but I am there the majority of the day, but I'm available when I am not there by phone as well.
All right, we're gonna take a 10-second stretch break, everybody. Stand up, maybe. Okay. All right, that was pretty heavy. Now the next one's not less heavy, so let's just crack on. So public safety emergencies. The Stockton Public Safety Department will if it happens, right, issue emergency notifications to notify the community of any hazards or issues that are affecting, let's say, a certain location is closed or there's a fire. I don't know, like anything that happens that's a hazard or an issue on campus. My phone number is on the contact details for all of the Stockton departments. So they would be contacting me. I'd be getting that information out to you all. There may be kind of over the the airwaves or the PA, they may put that out as well. Some of the categories are on the screen here to be aware of. And these are, I'm sure all of you have experienced this in your school environments as well. So fire, evacuate, don't use elevators. We're not really on second floors, so not as much of a concern except for probably in the residential buildings. Help people. Shelter in place. Stay where you are, and don't exit until there's all clear. If there's severe weather, in the past we have experienced, downpours, lightning, things like that. Try to follow what is put out there. And I've had to reschedule a pride parade because of wildfire smoke. So like, hopefully that doesn't come to Torch, but like, that's the reality of the world we live in nowadays. So if there is a wildfire, we need to be aware of that. And we're in the Pinelands, so it's not necessarily uncommon for that part of the country as well. So make sure you follow what is put out there, and also evacuation orders. Don't take your personal belongings if time permits, but really you need to make sure that you get people and yourself in safety. And on that note, we are responsible for the students under our care. Every parent is trusting us to protect the students that they bring to campus. So you are also expected as a staff to really be helping them through emergencies that may come up. So just take into account how you are supporting yourself, but also the students that are under your care. Lastly, if there is happens to be an active intruder alert, the protocol is run, get away as humanly possible, as quick as humanly possible, call 911, hide, secondary. So first, run, get out of there, clear the scene, and call emergency services. Second, hide, and last, fight. So that's the protocol there. Chris, I saw you come up on video. Anything you wanted to add there?
No, essentially just follow these protocols. The reason why Brian keeps asking me for my opinion is because I used to work at Stockton for a couple of years. If you have any questions Stockton related, please don't hesitate to reach out. I still have some contacts there that could help us with any of these situations, and you all got this.
Hell yeah. Questions? I feel like I've given enough space for that, but please add them in the chat, voice it, DM me, text me, call me. Important one, do your background checks immediately. If you've been asked to do, if you are going to be 18 or older on campus, you need to do a background check. And every 2 years we do these. So some advisors may have done it last year. You don't need to do it again this year. You will need to do it again next year. So Sarah, any comments on that?
Sorry, it took me a second to get off mute. I don't. I'm just missing a handful. I appreciate everyone who sent in their background checks already. Just please get those to me. If you were going to be 18 on campus, get those over to me ASAP. If you have any questions about how to do it, definitely don't hesitate to reach out. Also, along the same vein, don't forget to give me your forms. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
And if you've had to do a background check for another org or something, I'm sure we can work with it if you at least have records of it, but just needs recent. So okie dokie. Final stretch here. Don't know what to do. contact us. Okay. So I think that that's key point. I want you right now, everybody, get out your phone. I want you to add each of these numbers as a contact in your phone. And I'm also going to confirm that I have their numbers. That would be quite shocking if I don't. I have Sarah Stefanelli's phone number. Joe Seals. Chris. Chris, I have a different phone number
Did
for
you, Brian, did you say my name?
Oh no, I was just confirming that I have your phone number on my phone.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I was switching my connection and I was like, I don't know what question you asked me.
For those of you that have a 732 number for me, you are good. This is my business number, so I like to put this out to the masses.
Got it.
Right. I mean, we can wait until the Friday staff training day for this as well. But do you want to add me or Caroline to this list as well, since we will be there full time?
Yeah, let's do that at the next one, but yes.
Okay, cool.
Let's do that. Okay, so now that you have all of our contacts, now is the fun part. Please text me. You don't need to text Sarah, Joe, and Chris. Text me your first and last name. And that's really to make sure that I have your phone number, as well as that you are paying attention. Also, just to feel like cool. So I got like a lot of unread text. Look at that. Wow, sent with balloons, Annie. That is so special. Ben, I do have your phone number. Nice. Cool. All right. That concludes this training. Oh my gosh, look at this in the chat. Gaines, you want to speak on this?
Sure. This is the same info that was hopefully emailed out eventually, but was also included in the all staff group me. So we have two new guilds. I don't know if Brant or Dom are still on the call. If they are, they can definitely speak to the new guilds because I'm super excited about it.
Alex Brunt is in Paris and it's midnight, and I told him to do the makeup and please drop his call. So he is not here, and it's my fault.
Go drink a cappuccino or something.
Yeah, I was like, please go enjoy Paris. We'll handle this later.
Yeah, yeah.
Hi, Alex. If you're listening, you will be listening later.
Okay, yeah. So you'll on the form see a little bit about those two new guilds. It is STEM and social media, if I am remembering correctly.
Yes, you are.
Oh, hey.
Hello, hi. Yes, we're really excited to have these new guilds. They're gonna be doing some really cool stuff at Torch. It should all be described in the doc that was attached to the Google survey. But STEM will be doing some science experiments, and social media will be making some fun videos. So if you're interested in those guilds, please sign up.
Awesome, very exciting. So counselors, please make sure you fill out that form. I guess the deadline is the end of the week, which is tomorrow, because I didn't set a deadline. So please do that right now. And then set a reminder on your calendar, save this Zoom link. We are going to be having a virtual all staff prep meeting to go through some of the schedule. So those of you who were on staff last year or in years prior, you will know that Friday training day, we do a lot. There are a lot of fun things. And also we do sit and look at a projector with the schedule on it for a long amount of time. And we hear you that that is not super energizing and maybe not the best way to absorb information and keep the energy really high. So we're going to try to get through some of that on this staff meeting call. It'll be like a week or so before we're on site. We will find some ways to make it fun and exciting. And really, we'll all just be glad that we can do more fun and connection-y things on that Friday as a prep day. If you cannot make it, we will send out a recording and we'll coordinate with folks who can't come on. Yeah, I'm dropping the link in the chat now. Any questions?
Oh yeah, is that one of the bonfire hats?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
You look so fly.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Well, hey, it's so amazing to see all of your beautiful faces here. Oh my gosh, we got up to like 45 people on this Zoom. Like,
that's
that's
good.
wild. Like, I'm so happy that we have such an amazing staff and that's committed to like doing what we do. I'm just so excited about this year. Like, it's just overwhelming the amount of interest we've had from students. We have had to turn away 100 students from Torch this year. From like, we had applications from 78 schools. Like, what? Like, what is going on? So whatever you all are doing is contagious and it's needed and has a big impact. So what we did tonight really contributes to the success of that and to continue having that impact and really scaling this. So yeah, thank you all for being here. Thanks for Chris for facilitating as well and lending her expertise. And then look forward to seeing you all at the next one. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.